careful. If you can get it, get it. If you can't, don't force it. I have other channels. Your life is the most important thing, Zhou Zhou said. Zhou Zhou did not dare to imagine how intense the battle between the Supreme Will and the Void Emperor would be. Those were two wills. It would not be strange for them to shatter the entire ultimate void battlefield in a war between them. The Lord of 10,000 Evils had just advanced recently and was only a grade 4 Supreme God now. He was not even a quasi-Supreme Will Realm existence. If he did not obtain the ultimate void, crystal and chaos divine treasure in the sanctuary, Zhou Zhou naturally would not blame he for being incompetent. Don't worry, big brother. I'm not stupid. I still have to cherish my life. Also, don't underestimate me. I'm still confident that I can obtain the ultimate void crystal and chaos divine treasure from the sanctuary. The Lord of 10,000 Evils smiled. Zhou Zhou nodded. This he definitely believed it. The ultimate void race had occupied the ultimate void battlefield for so many years, but the Void Emperor could not snatch the sanctuary guarded by him from the Lord of 10,000 Evils. It could be seen how capable this guy was in protecting himself. As for this fellow's confidence, even though Zhou Zhou did not know where it came from, since the other party had said so, Zhou Zhou naturally would not slap his face, let him go. As a dignified Third Reserve Army of the Supreme Lord, he must have some confidence and methods since he said such words. Then Zhou Zhou and the Lord of 10,000 Evils chatted for a while before cutting off their communication. Then Zhou Zhou started thinking again. The arrangements for the ultimate void battlefield were complete. Then it was time to arrange the beginner-grade master god-tier kingdoms of the two universes. He planned to help the lords he trusted in the supreme great cosmos establish 4 beginner-grade master god-tier kingdoms. Then he would choose a suitable Scarlet Lord in the Crimson Great Cosmos and establish 4 beginner-grade master god-tier kingdoms. The answer to why they did not choose to establish it in the Supreme Great Cosmos was very simple. This was because there was a limited number of Chaos Divine treasures. There were only so many Chaos Divine treasures in a great cosmos. If they were divided equally among the Lord territories of the 8 beginner-grade master god-tier kingdoms, the efficiency of establishing a beginner-grade master god-tier kingdom would definitely decrease greatly. However, if the 2 great cosmoses divided the construction resources of the 8 beginner-grade master god-tier Lord territories equally, it would be much easier to establish them. Zhou Zhou was now focused on improving at the fastest and safest speed. He directly ignored all the inefficient plans. In the Supreme Great Cosmos, there are many suitable targets. The simplest is to directly choose the Lords of the Star Alliance and help them establish a beginner-grade master god-tier kingdom before subduing them. For me, the resources consumed are just transferred from left-handed to right-handed. Don't let the goodies go to outsiders. As for the Crimson Great Cosmos, there's actually nothing to think about. Whoever is the closest to the beginner-grade master god-tier kingdom will be nurtured and mercilessly harvested. But before that, we have to figure out the source of the Chaos Divine treasure of the Crimson Great Cosmos. At this thought, Zhou Zhou immediately recalled Noctul's memories. A moment later, Zhou Fight was shocked. This was because according to the contents of Noctul's memories, the Chaos Divine treasure in the Crimson Great Cosmos came from a mineral vein in an ultimate void Great Cosmos. The ores produced by this mineral vein were Chaos Divine treasures. However, because there was a huge number of chaotic divine demons guarding this mineral vein, there was no lack of Supreme God level and even Supreme Will level chaotic divine demons. Therefore, even these Scarlet Lords could not obtain a large number of chaotic divine treasures at once from this mineral vein. They could only steal a small number of chaotic divine treasures every time. However, even so, after this small number of chaos divine treasures was collected by Aus, he also established the first beginner-grade master god-tier Lord territory in the Crimson Great Cosmos. It could be seen how shocking the reserves of Chaos Divine treasures in this Chaos Divine treasure mine were. After Zhou Zhou browsed through the information, his heart could not help but thump, and his face was filled with excitement. There was actually such a huge reserve of Chaos Divine Treasure Mine in the Ultimate Void. This was great. He had just been worried about how to collect the Chaos Divine Treasures next. Great. Even though he had lost the source of the Chaos Divine Treasure, the Ultimate Void battlefield, he had welcomed an even richer Chaos Divine Treasure vein. Heaven is on my side. Oz could even obtain a large number of Chaos Divine Treasures through that Chaos Divine Treasure Mine to establish his beginner-grade master, God-tier kingdom's Lord territory. Then, he would be countless times stronger than Aus. He would definitely be able to obtain more Chaos Divine Treasures from that Chaos Divine Treasure Mine. This way, not only would he not have to worry about his territory advancing to a Grade 1 Supreme God territory in the future, even if it advanced to a Grade 2 Supreme God territory, Grade 3 Supreme God Realm territory, Grade 4 Supreme God territory, or even higher territories, he might not have to worry about the Chaos Divine Treasure resources they needed to advance. However, we still have to see for ourselves what the reserves are like. He thought for a moment and said, Zhou 12, Zhou 13, Zhou 14, Zhou 15. As soon as he finished speaking, 4 9-colored streams of light flew out of the Reincarnation Sacred Palace and arrived in front of him, main body. The 4 clones nodded slightly. Zhou Zhou nodded and looked at the 4 clones. These 4 avatars were all created by him, using the doppelganger technique in the past few days when he was busy. He was not in a hurry to arrange work for them. Instead, he planned to arrange work for them when they needed it. Therefore, he had been idle until today. Now, it was time for them to play their role. Share what I've just learned. Then I'll set you up for work, Zhou Zhou said briefly. Zhou Shear, Zhou 13, lead 10,000 Master God tiers and 20 Supreme Gods to the Chaos Divine Treasure Mine and mine the Chaos Divine Treasure there every day. If you encounter a powerful enemy, don't pay too much attention to the Chaos Divine Treasure in your hands. Staying alive is the most important. Zhou 14, Zhou 15. Go to the Ultimate Void Great Cosmos and search for the Ultimate Void Crystal that will only be born in the Ultimate Void Great Cosmos. In the face of danger, you also have to prioritize yourself. As for me, I will create a supreme, unique Lord talent suitable for searching for Chaos Divine Treasures and Ultimate Void Crystals. It will be convenient for you to move. Leave it to us, Zhou 12 to Zhou 14 said. Then they left, Zhou Zhou said again, the Zhou 15. Another clone flew out of the Reincarnation Sacred Palace and arrived in front of Zhou Zhou, main body. He said, You'll replace Zhou Fight and be in charge of the Succubus Lord. The Crimson Great Cosmos is an extremely important place of war. You must manage it well. In the future, if our Supreme Great Cosmos wants to attack the Crimson Great Cosmos, your side will be the best springboard for our attack, Zhou Zhou said seriously. Don't worry. Zhou 15 smiled and nodded. He pointed at his head and said, My personality, intelligence, and bloodline inheritance are very similar to Zhou manages. It's just governing and developing a Divine Kingdom Lord faction. It's very simple for me. Okay. Zhou Zhou felt more at ease when he heard that. Then Zhou 15 directly opened a Shadow World warp gate and headed to the Crimson Great Cosmos. Zhou Zhou slowly muttered to himself as he watched Zhou 15 leave. In this way, the arrangements are almost complete. I hope everything goes well for them. Then he looked at the resource requirements for the Master God tier intermediate grade Lord's territory to be upgraded to high-level Master God tier Lord's territory. There was only the need to conquer the Lord's territory of the 4 beginner grade Master God tier kingdoms left. The rest of him was already satisfied. However, Zhou Zhou felt that this upgrade requirement would take some time. Take your time. There's no point in being anxious. Zhou Zhou shook his head and stopped thinking about it. Then, he came to the Gate of Summoning and spent 4,000 Gai units of basic materials and 10,000 Master God tier intermediate grade divine crystals to upgrade the Gate of Summoning to Master God tier advanced grade. A text notification appeared. Congratulations. Your Gate of Summoning has been successfully upgraded to Master God Tier Intermediate Grade Building. You can summon 1 billion subjects every day. 100 million professionals will definitely appear among the subjects you summon every day. Prompt. Under the influence of the unique title of the race's glory of the Pioneer Throne, the number of subjects you can summon every day has reached 20,717,551,500. 100 million professionals will definitely appear among the subjects you summon every day. Zhou Zhou nodded in satisfaction after reading it. The number of subjects summoned by the Master God Tier Advanced Grade was 1,585,965 in 500. After being buffed by the glory of the Pioneer Throne, it directly increased by 13 times, becoming 20,675,500 people. Furthermore, there were 14 Master God Tier Advanced Grade Master Gods. Then he took a look at the requirements to upgrade the Gate of Summoning. Construction upgrade: 5,000 Gai units of wood, 5,000 Gai units of thin sand, 5,000 Gai units of metal, 5,000 Gai units of stone, 1,000 Grade 1 Supreme God level Divine Crystals. Territory level has increased to Grade 1 Supreme God level. Zhou Zhou retracted his gaze and spent 20 Gai units of basic materials, 10,000 Master God Tier Intermediate Divine Crystals, and 50 billion high-grade elemental gems to upgrade the original Dragon Abyss to the Master God Tier Intermediate Grade. Building name: Original Dragon Abyss. Construction level: True God Tier Advanced Grade. Construction effect: every day you can summon 60 billion Extraordinary Tier Pure-Blooded Dragons from the Original Dragon Abyss, 6 billion Epic Tier Pure-Blooded Dragons, 6 billion Legendary Tier Pure-Blooded Dragons, 60,000 True God Tier Advanced Grade Dragon Gods to become subjects under the Lord. There is a 60% chance of summoning 1 Legendary Dragon, and a 10% chance of summoning 2 Legendary Dragons. Note 1. When all the Legendary Dragons are summoned, the Legendary Dragons that can no longer be summoned will be replaced by 1,000 True God Tier Advanced Grade Dragon Gods. Note 2. When all the pure-blooded dragons are summoned, the dragons summoned next will be replaced by dragon descendants. Construction upgrade. This building has reached the upper limit of the building and can't continue upgrading. After Zhou Zhou saw the architectural effects of the original Dragon Abyss, he raised his eyebrows slightly. This was because he had discovered that the basic number of dragons summoned in the upgraded original Dragon Abyss had not increased. The only increase was the probability of summoning legendary dragons. The original Dragon Abyss of a Master God Tier Advanced Grade could already 100% summon a legendary dragon. There was also a 50% chance of summoning 2 legendary dragons. It sounded like a mediocre improvement. In fact, it was indeed very ordinary. Even the strongest legendary dragon was only Master God Tier Advanced Grade Dragon after all. To the current, in Zhou Zhou, Hyo could no longer be considered a top-notch expert. Moreover, the last information actually showed that this original Dragon Abyss could no longer be upgraded. Has it reached its limit? Zhou Zhou shook his head. He did not expect this. The first to reach the limit of his potential was actually the mythical tier, the only Lord Talent of the original Dragon Abyss that he had high hopes for. He sensed his emotions and realized that he did not find it a pity. That's true, the Dragon Clan is strong. However, are they as strong as the original Spirit race, the Chaos Gods race, and the Shepherd's God race? Even the 3 races had been defeated at his feet. How could Zhou Zhou care about a special building at the Master God tier level of the Dragon race? Why don't I raise the original Dragon Abyss to the Supreme only level to save it? This thought suddenly appeared in his mind. Then he shook his head and dispelled this thought. It's not necessary. Pure-blooded dragons were much weaker than the Supreme God Realm soldiers and powerful archmages under him. Since there was an endless stream of Supreme God Realm soldiers and powerful Magus gods, why did they still need pure-blooded dragons to make up the illustrations? If he had the energy to upgrade the original Dragon Abyss to the Supreme Unique Lord Talent, he might as well upgrade the other Lord Talents. The limit is the limit. There are enough pure-blooded dragons and legendary dragons of the Blazing Sun god race. There's no need to waste resources on promotion. Zhou Zhou muttered to himself. Then he returned to the Kingdom of God and sent someone to call Mu Gu, Zheng Fugi, and Carol Moley over. A moment later, the three of them arrived in front of Zhou Zhou. "Greetings, Your Majesty," the three of them said respectfully. "Same old rules. Tell me about your respective advancements after your territory is upgraded to the Master God tier advance grade." Zhou Zhou said. Mu Gu was the first to walk out and said respectfully, "Reporting to Your Majesty, the current level of the Scarlet Broodmother that I'm in has been promoted from Master God tier intermediate grade to Master God tier advance grade. The number of Mist Mothers evolved from the Master God tier advance grade, Scarlet Broodmother, has increased from 100 million to 500 million. Each Mist Mother's Mist Mother world can now nurture 500 billion fog monsters. 500 million Mist Mothers can nurture a total of 25,000 capital units fog monsters. In addition, the quality and efficiency of cultivating high-quality Scarlet descendants has also improved. Currently, I can already nurture 50 of them at Master God tier intermediate grade in a day. As for true God tiers and ordinary God spirits, it's the same as before. I can nurture them indefinitely as long as the Scarlet Fog doesn't disappear," Mu Gu said. Zhou Zhou was shocked when he heard that. This was a total of 25,000 capital units fog monsters. In other words, it was a 2.5 guy unit head fog monster. If he used all these Mist Mothers to nurture his soldier type, with the enhancement of Lord talents and titles like Heavenly Fate Di Huang, he would be able to obtain 2,000 capital units Supreme God Realm Soldier. Recruitment books. 2,000 capital units Supreme God Realm Soldier Class Change Certificate. 2,000 capital units Supreme Holy Mage God Recruitment Books, and 2,000 capital units Supreme Holy Mage God Class Change Certificate. In other words, from tomorrow onwards, he would be able to recruit a total of 20 guy unit recruits just by recruiting soldiers and changing classes. One had to know that he only had one guy unit and 9,000 capital units under his command. This summoning directly increased the number of soldiers under him by 10 times. Furthermore, the weakest of these 20 guy unit soldiers were epic tier advance grade soldiers. The remaining soldiers were all legendary tier advance grade soldiers. Zhou didn't even dare to imagine how many god spirits would be born under them after they were all promoted to god spirits. "In god spirits in capital units? No, it is god spirits in guy unit," Zhou Zhou said to Mu Gu. Of the 500 million Mist Mothers, 250 million are used to nurture the ruler of chaos, and the other 250 million are used to nurture the primordial holy canon. "Yes, Your Grace." Mu Gu nodded respectfully and then said seriously, "Your Majesty, the development limit of the Scarlet Broodmother is limited by the upper limit of the Lord Talent, so it can at most be upgraded to Master God tier. Advance grade. If the territory level increases again, the Scarlet Broodmother won't continue to increase. Unless I can upgrade the mythical tier Scarlet Broodmother, which has the only Lord Talent, to the Supreme Unique Lord Talent. This way, the Scarlet Broodmother can continue to upgrade after it advances in the territory." Zhou Zhou was stunned for a moment before nodding thoughtfully. That's true. The upper limit of the mythical tier Lord Talent was the Master God tier advance grade. If he surpassed the Master God tier advance grade, his Lord Talent could not continue to increase. If he wanted to further improve the effects of the Scarlet Broodmother's breeding monster, he had to turn the Scarlet Broodmother from a product of the mythical tier, the only Lord Talent, to a product of the Supreme Unique Lord Talent. Fortunately, this was not difficult for him. After solving the Supreme Unique Lord Talent, he could start to upgrade the Scarlet Broodmother to the Supreme Unique Lord Talent. On Mu Gu's side, he retreated after saying that. When Zheng Fugi saw this, he stepped forward. "Reporting to Your Majesty, the number of mysterious merchant has increased from 5 trillion to 10 trillion after the territory was promoted to Master God tier advance grade. The number of wagons transporting goods has also increased to 10 trillion. Among these 10 trillion mysterious merchants, there are a total of 10 million supremacy gods, 999.9 trillion true god tiers, and 9 trillion ordinary god spirits. Our treasure hunting ability has improved again. In the future, when we go out to do business, we should be able to bring back at least 10 million god-tier treasures each time. Moreover, our mysterious caravan's status in the mysterious merchant chamber of commerce has increased again. Currently, we are already one of the most direct branches of the mysterious merchant chamber of commerce. The salary we receive every day has increased from 50,000 mysterious merchant chamber of commerce points to 200,000 mysterious merchant chamber of commerce points. In addition, when our mysterious caravan is out purchasing goods, if we encounter any trouble, we can choose to seek help from the mysterious merchant chamber of commerce. The mysterious merchant chamber of commerce can send a low-level supreme willpower expert to protect us. Even though it can only be protected once, it will allow us to complete the collection of some important treasures. Zheng Fugi said respectfully. Zhou Zhou's eyes lit up. He didn't care much about the other upgrades of the mysterious chamber of commerce. However, when Zheng Fugi said that he could send a low-level supreme willpower realm expert to protect them from purchasing goods, Cho was pleasantly surprised. Even though it could only be protected once, it was still very precious. That was a low-level supreme will realm expert, a true supreme willpower practitioner. Even if such an existence could only attack once, it was enough for Zhou Zhou and Zheng Fugi to treat it seriously and use it. Right at that moment, Your Majesty, the mysterious caravan's advancement is already the limit of our advancement after reaching the Master God tier advance grade. If we want to improve further, we need His Majesty to upgrade the mysterious caravan's Lord Talent to the Supreme Unique Lord Talent. Zheng Fugi said respectfully. This Emperor understands. Zhou Zhou nodded. It was really urgent to raise his Lord Talent to the supreme level, he thought. Right at that moment, he suddenly had a new idea. He said to Zheng Fugi, can you buy Chaos Divine Treasures and Ultimate Void Crystals, Your Majesty? Sure, but in the end, His Majesty raised the mysterious caravan's Lord Talent to the Supreme Unique level, so that our personnel and facilities are upgraded to a whole new level. At that time, not only can we collect treasures in the Supreme Great Cosmos, we can even leave the Supreme Great Cosmos and collect treasures in the Ultimate Void Great Cosmos. Chaos Divine Treasures and Ultimate Void Crystals might be very difficult to find in the Supreme Great Cosmos. However, it's actually not difficult to find it in the Ultimate Void Great Cosmos outside the Supreme Great Cosmos. The Ultimate Void Great Cosmos is too big after all. There are countless great cosmoses like ours. Chaotic Divine Treasures and Ultimate Void Crystals are not particularly rare resources in the Ultimate Void Great Cosmos. Zhou Zhou's eyes lit up. Indeed, mysterious merchants like Zheng Fugi and they could help him search for chaos, divine treasures, and ultimate void crystals. Okay, then this Emperor will raise your Lord Talent to the Supreme Unique level the day after tomorrow. He had other plans for tomorrow's Lord Talent, so he could only wait until the day after tomorrow for the mysterious caravan's Lord Talent. As for the Scarlet Broodmother, he could only wait until the day after tomorrow, yes, Your Grace, Zheng Fugi said respectfully before retreating. Seeing this, Carol Moley stood up and said respectfully, reporting to Your Majesty. Your Majesty, after the territory was upgraded to the Master God tier advance grade, our life arc already has 20 clergymen from capital units, 20 priests from capital units, 20 nuns from capital units, and 2,000 life paladins from capital units. These clergymen are enough to complete the war healing mission and the war resurrection mission with 100 Guy unit troops. Also, currently, there are 100 billion high-level members of the life arc God Spirit. Every one of them have mastered the great and small resurrection spell. They can resurrect the deities of our country alone. As for my strength, I'm still Master God tier advance grade. I haven't improved yet. Your Majesty, the Lord Talent of the life arc that I belong to has also reached the limit of my talent. If I want to improve further, I need to raise the Lord talent of the life arc to the supreme unique level to be able to improve again. When the territory is upgraded to a grade 1 Supreme God's territory, the effect of the life arc's Lord talent will also be upgraded to the grade 1 Supreme God level. I have a feeling that at that time, the clergy members on the life arc will give birth to Supreme God powerhouses. Those clergy members with the strength of a Supreme God should have the clergy ability to resurrect Supreme God powerhouses. Zhou Zhou nodded seriously. It seemed that he also needed to seize the time to raise the mythical tier unique Lord talent of the life arc to the Supreme unique level. This way, his Supreme God subordinates and even subordinates at the quasi-supreme willpower level could fight on the battlefield without worrying about being unable to revive after dying. Now, even though he could seek help from his elder brother, the reincarnation will, to revive his subordinates, the reincarnation will still had its own matters to attend to. It wasn't good for him to always seek help from the reincarnation will, even if there was remuneration. Moreover, if something happened to the reincarnation will one day and he could not find the other party, he would not be able to revive his subordinates in a short period of time. Therefore, in the long run, it was better for his subordinates to have the ability to resurrect the supreme gods. It would be better for his territory to develop and conquer externally. Then he chatted with Mugu and they for a while more about their future development before allowing them to return. Zhou Zhou returned to the Reincarnation Sacred Palace and continued cultivating. The next day, Zhou Zhou slowly opened his eyes. Sensing the changes in him, a smile appeared on his lips. Grade 2. Supreme God. With the help of the Reincarnation Sacred Palace and many treasures and the Lord talent, his strength increased quickly. Then he looked at the law skill he had grasped. First of all, it was naturally the king that he relied on the most. Law skill name, king, law skill quality, grade 2 Supreme God. Introduction, as a true God spirit on the Lords. Law path, you can mark 100% of the territorial subjects and control everything they have, including appearance, bloodline, skills, weapons, law skills, and even illusory fate. When you control everything the marked subject has, the subject doesn't have to suffer any negative effects. Zhou Zhou clicked his tongue after reading it. After reading it, Zhou Zhou clicked his tongue. It has doubled to 10 times now. That's a hell of an improvement. Then, he looked at the second law skill, Myriad Methods Star Palm. The improvement of the Myriad Methods Star Palm was very simple. It was the purest increase in power, the power of the current Myriad Methods. Star Palm was already the true #1 palm technique below the Supreme Will realm. The Myriad Methods, Star Palm, that had fused all the subjects, God spirits, true God tiers, master God tiers, supreme gods, and even quasi-supreme willpower. Realm existences under his command. Under a single palm strike, even if 10 quasi-supreme willpower realm existences jointly defended, they would have no way of surviving. They would only be killed by a single palm strike. It could be seen how powerful the Myriad Method Star Palm was. Zhou Zhou even had a bold idea. The power of the Grade 2 Supreme God, Myriad Methods. Star Palm was already so astonishing. When it reached Grade 4, or the quasi-supreme will realm, would it be able to threaten a true supreme will realm existence? Zhou Zhou was shocked by the thought in his mind. Then, he shook his head and stopped thinking about it. Following that, he looked at the third law skill. Under the heavens, everything is the king's land. After advancing to Grade 2 Supreme God law skill, its domain strength increased again. It could already weaken the will domain of supreme existences by a small margin. This weakening ability had been improved again. As for domains below the supreme will realm, they could be suppressed 100%. They could even be forcefully transformed into their own domains. This law skill, all the land in the world belongs to the king, could establish an exclusive domain rule in the nomological domain. It could also be temporarily preserved or permanently preserved, making it a temporary, permanent, exclusive territory. In the past, he could only have 100 exclusive territories at the boundless universe level. The number had already risen to 200. In the end, could it be that the king's territory could forcefully make 100 boundless universes its territory every day? The number had also risen to 200. After reading it, Zhou Zhou nodded slightly. As for the last two functions, Zhou Zhou's clones would leave the High Continent every day and head to the myriad worlds to use them. In the past, only 100 boundless universes in the myriad worlds could become subordinate worlds of the blazing sun divine kingdom every day. Now, he could make 200 boundless universes become subordinate worlds of the blazing sun divine kingdom every day. At this rate, sooner or later, Zhou Zhou would be able to take down all the worlds in the world without any bloodshed. Then, he looked at the second law skill. All the people in the world are the king's subjects. The improvement of this law skill was relatively simple. Its greatest effect was that after casting the domain, it would instantly change the thoughts and wills of the life forms in the domain by consuming half of the supreme divine power in their bodies, turning them into subjects loyal to them. Previously, when he was using Grade 1 Supreme God Law skills, he could only instigate the Insight Defection subjects below Grade 1 Supreme God. He could instigate the Insight Defection subjects below the Second Order Supreme God level now. The last nomological skill was the nomological skill that he had comprehended when he advanced to Grade 1 Supreme God, the 95 Supreme King Law skill. Name, 95 Supreme King. Law skill quality, Grade 2 Supreme God. Introduction to nomological skills. You are standing at the peak of all lords. You are the King of Lords, the Absolute Supreme. When you face other lords and they are enemies with you, all the abilities that they use against you will be weakened by 20%. There is a 20% chance that they will be ineffective. Your subjects. Combat strength has increased by 200% when they fight with you. Other lords will have a natural sense of reverence and even submission when facing you. There is a certain chance that the other party will agree to your opinions and thoughts. Those who are your enemies will feel fear from the bottom of their hearts. Only those with extremely strong willpower will be immune to this fear. You can transform into the 95 Supreme King Dragon God. Your body is invincible and indestructible. Unless all the soldiers under you die or the difference in strength between you and the other party is so great that it can't be made up for, you will definitely not die. When you transform into the 95 Supreme King Dragon God and appear on the battlefield, you will randomly give your soldiers the supreme blessing to strengthen their various abilities. After reading it, Zhou Zhou nodded slightly. It doesn't look like much has changed on the panel. However, when the subjects under your command fight with you, their combat strength will increase by 200%, was enough to increase the combat strength. If the soldiers under him once again, as expected of his 5th law skill. All 5 of my law skills have the potential to reach the Supreme Will Realm. Zhou Zhou lamented inwardly. Not every Supreme God's nomological skill had the potential to advance to the Supreme Willpower Realm. Most quasi-Supreme Willpower Realm experts would choose the law skill that had the greatest potential to be upgraded to a willpower skill when they were preparing to advance to the Supreme Willpower Realm. They would study it carefully and advance it to a willpower skill of a Supreme Willpower Realm expert. Generally speaking, if there were 10 law skills, there might only be 1 or 2 that had the potential to advance to a will skill. And Zhou Zhou could sense that each of his 5 law skills had the potential to be upgraded to a willpower skill. At that time, when he advanced to the Supreme Will Realm, he would directly possess 5 powerful will techniques. Ordinary newly advanced Supreme Will Realm experts only had 1 will technique. The disparity in their combat power was instantly revealed when the time came. Even though Zhou Zhou was a rookie at the Supreme Will Realm, his means and combat strength were not much weaker than those veteran Supreme Will Realm experts. He shook his head and stopped thinking so far ahead. He turned his attention to the supreme unique Lord Talent that he had just created. A Lord Talent, King of Treasures, Supreme Unique. King of Treasures, you are the most famous King of Treasures in the myriad worlds. The process of obtaining something will definitely be as simple as taking something out of your pocket as long as you want to obtain it. As the King of Treasures, you are naturally favored by the spirituality of the supreme treasures in the myriad worlds. Some treasures would even fall into your hands by chance. At the same time, you have a talent-like intuition for treasures within a radius of 1,000 capital units of light years. You can acutely sense the location of the treasures and also understand their relevant information out of thin air. In addition, if the treasure you have collected has characteristics such as time limit or durability, you can rely on your rich collection and preservation experience to find a way to extend the usage of this treasure. It can extend the usage time by up to 100 times. You can also consume some of your treasure luck and turn treasures that have a time limit into permanent treasures. Or you can let the treasure squeeze out your potential and unleash the effect of a treasure that far exceeds ordinary treasures. However, once time passes, such treasures that have their potential squeezed out will suffer varying degrees of damage. They might even directly be crippled and can't be used again. When you collect different treasures, you will receive a certain amount of treasure luck feedback according to the value of the treasure. Moreover, it can increase your strength and realm. The higher the grade of the treasure, the higher the feedback of the treasure luck you will obtain. The more your strength will increase, and the smaller the reverse. When you extract the loot from the corpse, the drop rate will increase by an additional 100%. Zhou Zhou's eyes lit up after reading this. This supreme unique Lord Talent had improved in a very good way. He liked the innate effects very much apart from the last one, which increased the drop rate by 100%, which was useless to him. First of all, Zhou Zhou liked the effect of the treasure automatically recognizing him as its master. Who didn't like the feeling of reaping something without sowing? In addition, he would have a treasure intuition for the treasures, within a radius of 1,000 capital units of light years around him. He could also sense the location of the treasures and their relevant information. This ability was also very useful. This was a talent-like intuition for treasures within a radius of 1,000 capital units of light years, 1,000 capital units of light years. The diameter of a boundless universe was only 1,000 trillion. The intuition of the King of Treasures was 10,000 times this number. In other words, he would instantly know what treasures were within the diameter of the surrounding 10,000 boundless universes if he activated his treasure intuition. The King of Treasures. This would make him the true King of Treasures. Zhou Zhou nodded in satisfaction. The reason why he upgraded this Lord Talent to the Supreme, unique level first was for this effect. With this effect, be it searching for Chaos Divine, treasures in the Chaos Divine Treasure Mine in the Crimson Great Cosmos, or helping the mysterious caravan and his clones search for Chaos Divine treasures and ultimate void crystals in the ultimate void. Great Cosmos, all of them were very useful. This was also why Zhou Zhou still chose to upgrade the Lord Talent, even though the mysterious caravan and the life arc were very important to upgrade the Scarlet Broodmother. In addition, prolonging the usage of the treasure and turning the treasure, with a time limit, into a permanent treasure, as well as squeezing the treasure's potential to unleash a stronger effect, were also ridiculous talent abilities. Moreover, collecting treasures could actually help him increase his strength. While he was already a Grade 2 Supreme God, and this effect might no longer be effective, but he did not care at all. This was because he had many treasures. With Heavenly Fate, Di Huang's supreme unique Lord Talent, the treasures that he received every day could be described as vast. With the augmentation of these treasures, even if most of them were low-grade treasures, there would probably be a qualitative change in quantity, allowing Zhou Zhou's strength to increase steadily. Zhou Zhou originally thought that it would take him a long time to advance from a Grade 2 Supreme God to a Grade 3 Supreme God realm. However, with this Lord Talent, Zhou Zhou felt that this time would definitely be shortened because of this Lord Talent. This would allow him to advance to the Supreme Will realm earlier. In addition, the concept of treasure luck was mentioned here. Zhou Zhou knew what this concept meant the moment he obtained this Lord Talent. The so-called treasure luck was the probability of encountering treasures. The higher the treasure luck, the easier it was to encounter treasures, even high-quality treasures. The lower the treasure luck, the lower the probability of encountering treasures. If the treasure luck was too low, it was even possible that one's own treasures would be lost for no reason and fall into others' hands. Zhou Zhou used his Lord Talent to observe his treasures. In the end, he realized that his own treasures and providence could no longer be described as exaggerated. It was estimated that even the treasures and providence on them might not be as high as Zhou Zhou's. Zhou Zhou was not surprised at all. He still remembered how shocked he was when he took out 50,000 supreme divine artifacts, that even the Supreme Will was shocked by the number of supreme divine artifacts he had. This Lord Talent is really good. It was not in vain that I upgraded it from a green bronze tier Lord Talent to the current Supreme Unique Lord Talent, the King of Treasures. I already have a total of 8 Supreme Unique Lord Talents, including this Lord Talent. Zhou Zhou sighed and muttered to himself as he nodded in satisfaction. Then, he got up and left the Reincarnation Sacred Palace to come to Mugu's residence. After Zhou Zhou arrived, he saw that Mugu was drinking tea, while Wu Xin had already led his army into the nest to hunt the nest monsters. "You really like drinking tea." Zhou Zhou shook his head and smiled. It seemed that every time he came to Mugu's place, he would see Mugu either drinking tea or chatting with Wu Xin, who had finished his work. "These tea leaves from your Majesty's hometown, while not magical in any way, have a different charm when carefully savored." Mugu smiled. Zhou Zhou did not say anything to that as he sat opposite Mugu nonchalantly. When Mugu saw this, he immediately stood up and made tea for Zhou Zhou. After making the tea, he stood respectfully behind Zhou Zhou, as if waiting for his other instructions. "Sit down and have a drink with this emperor," Zhou Zhou said casually. Mugu sat down and drank tea with Zhou Zhou. A moment later, a golden stream of light flew out of the Scarlet Broodmother and landed on the ground, revealing Wu Xin's figure. "Dear." Injin looked a little tired, but his eyes were filled with excitement, as if he had seen something that made him happy. Then, he saw Zhou Zhou. "Greetings, Your Majesty." Wu Xin suppressed the excitement in his heart and said respectfully, "Legion Commander Wu, you seem to be in a good mood?" Zhou Zhou teased. "Your Majesty, I've just gained a lot from the Scarlet Broodmother." "Your Majesty, please take a look." After Wu Xin finished speaking, he immediately took out 3 world rings and handed them to Zhou Zhou. Zhou Zhou also received them with anticipation in his heart. And then, his willpower immediately entered them. One of the world rings contained a total of 5 Guy Unit Supreme God Realm Soldier recruitment books and 5 Guy Unit Supreme Holy Mage God recruitment books. The other world ring contained 5 Guy Unit Supreme God Realm Soldier Class Change Certificates and 5 Guy Unit Supreme Holy Mage God Class Change Certificates. The last world ring contained a huge number of other loots. "Good, good, good." Zhou Zhou's tone was agitated as he used the word good 3 times in a row. This was a total of 20 Guy Unit Capital Units recruitment books and class change certificates. It could increase the number of troops under him by 10 times. Any other lord would be excited, and Zhou Zhou was no exception. He took a deep breath and handed the class change certificate to Wu Xin, asking him to find reserve recruits and change their class to Supreme God Realm Soldiers and Supreme Holy Mage Gods. Wu Xin took the world rings solemnly, as the recipient of these loots. He naturally knew how important the items in these world rings were. It was no exaggeration to say that the goods in this world rings could not be exchanged for with 10 high-level divine kingdoms. This was the future of the blazing Sun Divine Kingdom. He took a deep breath and put it away solemnly. He took his leave after bidding farewell to Zhou Zhou. As for Zhou Zhou, he immediately left Mugu's blessed land and flew out of the Divine Kingdom world to the Gate of Summoning. He called over a Master God Tier Advanced Grade Eternal battleship as usual and threw all 2 Guy Unit recruitment books into the Gate of Summoning. Finally, he spent 100 Master God Tier Advanced Grade Divine Crystals to recruit them in one go and arranged for them to be on this eternal battleship. When he saw that 10 Guy Unit soldiers had suddenly appeared in the internal world of the Eternal Battleship, He could not help but smile. Was this the feeling of a sudden increase in military strength? It would always feel good, no matter how many times he experienced it. Then he spent another 100 Master God tier advanced grade divine crystals to summon 66,606,600 pure-blooded dragons. They were also placed on another eternal mothership. Then he carefully observed these dragons and discovered that he had also called 2 legendary dragons. One of the legendary dragons was the dragon god of violent storm, Zorn. The other legendary dragon was the natural holy dragon, Herrera. One of the 2 legendary dragons was good at the nomological path of violent storm, while the other was good at controlling the power of nature. Both of them were quite famous among the legendary dragons. Then he allowed the pure-blooded dragons like them to take up their posts in the dragon god army. Then Zhou Zhou spent another 100 Master God tier advanced grade divine crystals to summon the day's worth of subjects. This he called more than 26.1 billion subjects, which was 5 billion more subjects than usual. The strongest among them was the 14 Master God tier advanced grade God spirits. Then he got his subordinates to arrange the whereabouts of these new soldiers and new subjects before heading to the Jade Capital Immortal Mountain alone. After spending 1,000 low-tier deity-level elementary-grade divine crystals, he summoned 100 capital units of heavenly soldiers, heavenly generals, and heavenly venerates right at that moment. Swish, 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 swish. A total of 16,610 light pillars of various laws soared into the sky from the direction of the Reincarnation's sacred palace. Shortly after, 2 completely different phenomena appeared among the stars in the sky. Of these 2 phenomena, one was the blazing starry sky phenomenon, and the other was the phenomenon of 100 beasts charging. Some of the more knowledgeable deities could tell that these were the cosmic phenomenon of 2 Master God tier advanced grade God spirits, who had walked the path of the flame law and the path of the beast law respectively, and had become supreme gods. And when these god spirits gazed at the source of these nomological pillars of light and nomological phenomena, they immediately revealed a complicated expression: the blazing sun divine kingdom. Again, the blazing sun divine kingdom could actually produce a few master god tiers and supreme gods every day. It has never stopped. The number of new god spirits today might be much fewer than yesterday, but the god spirits didn't really care. This was because even these newly advanced master god tiers and supreme gods were not something they could compare with themselves. Such a scene was enough for they to look up to, as expected of the common people's regal. The Supreme Lord's Fourth Reserve Army personally selected by the Supreme Will can always do things that exceed our imagination. A god spirit sighed with emotion and left. When the other god spirits saw this, they stopped observing and departed too. They decided to let themselves get used to and accept the fact that new master god tiers and new supreme gods would be born in the blazing sun divine kingdom every day. Otherwise, they would make a fuss every time as if they did not know anything. Get used to it. They consoled themselves in their hearts. At the same time, Zhou Zhou was already surrounded by these newly promoted master god tiers and supreme gods. After Zhou Zhou chatted briefly with them, he gave them a set of divine artifacts each. The god spirits accepted their leaves. Excitedly after that, Zhou then calculated the strength of his main combat army. He originally had 2 Guy units, 7,922 capital units with 2,287,192, 523,743,288 soldiers, 799, 781, 362, 618, God spirits, 14,488, 99, 388, true gods, 241, 981, master gods, 182 supreme gods, and 1 quasi-supreme willpower level expert. Including the 20 Guy unit recruits who were enlisted and changed jobs today, there were 660,000 pure-blooded dragons, 100 capital units heavenly soldiers, 16,610 newly advanced master gods, and 6 newly advanced supreme gods. The troops. Under him had already reached 22 Guy units, 8,022 capital units, 2,387, 256, 523,743, 888 soldiers, 800, 448,029, 218. God spirits, 14,488, 119,398, true gods, 258,591, master gods, and 184 supreme gods, and one quasi-supreme willpower realm expert. Zhou Zhou nodded in satisfaction. To Guy units of soldiers, nearly 1 trillion god spirits, and billion true gods, and 50,000 master gods, nearly 200 supreme gods, a quasi-supreme willpower realm expert. Such troops were considered top-notch in any supreme god faction. Zhou Zhou then sensed the lower limit of the potential of the blazing sun, god race's citizens, and a smile appeared on his face again. Mid-tier deity level, advanced grade. After obtaining 4,213 new master gods and 2 new supreme gods of the human race, the potential of the blazing sun god race had shockingly progressed from the mid-tier deity level intermediate grade to the level of mid-tier deity level advanced grade. Not bad. It is elevated by another small level. Then he sensed how much potential the blazing sun god race needed to advance from a mid-tier deity level advanced grade to a high-tier deity level elementary. A moment later, Zhou Zhou understood the answer. 50,000. He nodded slowly. That was a staggering number, even though Zhou Zhou had a large number of master gods and supreme gods under his command every day. He could not achieve this goal in a short period of time. However, Zhou Zhou was not in a hurry. There was nothing important to do now. He had plenty of time to wait. I still have 4,187 new master god slots left. I still need 45,813 new master god tiers to advance to the lower limit of the high-tier deity level elementary grade. That's a week at most before Zhou fight, and the rest should be able to accomplish this goal. Zhou Zhou thought. Zhou Zhou planned to return to the Reincarnation Sacred Palace to continue cultivating after doing all this. Even though he had just advanced to become a Grade 2 Supreme God, his goal was to become an existence at the Supreme Will realm, or even an existence with a will. A mere Grade 2 Supreme God would naturally not let him be complacent and stop his progress. At that moment, Zhou Zhou's personal terminal suddenly rang. Someone had called him. He was taken aback before he picked up the call. Soon, a beam of light shot out from his personal terminal and quickly condensed in front of him, forming Linger's figure. She looked lifelike, like a real person standing in front of Zhou. Zhou not like a figure created by light at all. Even Zhou Zhou needed to activate his divine power to see that the Linger in front of him was condensed from light and shadow and not a real person. It could be seen how real Linger's body was. Linger, what's the matter? Zhou Zhou asked with a smile as he lamented the rapid development of the Blazing Sun Divine Kingdom's technology. Even though he already knew that the Blazing Sun Divine Kingdom had entered the era of mixed virtual reality and that society had reached the level of a top-notch technological civilization, he still sighed. When the path of technology was developed to an extremely high level, it could really not be inferior to supreme gods at all, or even the Supreme Will realm. Unfortunately, the technological growth of the Supreme Great Cosmos and the Crimson Great Cosmos stopped suddenly at the Supreme God stage. The Supreme Great Cosmos and the Crimson Great Cosmos had never seen a technological path at the stage of a Supreme Will. However, according to Lord of 10,000 Evils, the Spring and Autumn Dharma Lord had once seen through the river of time that in the ultimate void, Great Cosmos, there was a great cosmos that was completely developed by the laws of technology. The level of technological development of that great cosmos had currently reached an extremely profound level. In fact, the owner of that great cosmos of technology was a willpower expert who had progressed from a mechanical life form. When I have, in time, I must go and take a look. I will definitely be able to make another breakthrough in the Blazing Sun Divine Kingdom's technological standards, and let the citizens of the Blazing Sun Divine Kingdom live a better life if I can learn something. Zhou thought. Big brother, even though Linger still looked young, her expressions and smiles were that of an adult. He had mixed feelings, but was also very gratified. Even though the Lord of all Races battle had caused Linga to experience many things that a child like he shouldn't have experienced, from the current outcome, Linga was at least living well. Let me tell you a piece of good news. The high-level divine kingdom of spiritual medicine has just officially progressed to the stage of a beginner grade master god-tier lord's territory, Linga said excitedly. Oh! Zhou Zhou's eyes lit up. She had finally succeeded in advancing. Very well done, Linga. Zhou Zhou praised with a smile. Big brother, don't make fun of me, Linga blushed. I didn't do anything. I only relied on your resources to raise it to the beginner grade master god-tier lord territory. Can't this emperor help my little sister as your big brother? Zhou Zhou chuckled. He had not felt that he was a selfless person, just like how he treated the subjects in his divine kingdom. He treated the subjects of the people of foreign races in a completely different way. He liked to help and bestow more onto those who were close to him. He couldn't be bothered to care too much for those who had nothing to do with him. He would prioritize caring for his own family. Sure, Linga hurriedly said. Come, on. Go to your divine kingdom and take a look. Zhou Zhou smiled and said. Then he had a thought and their bodies instantly disappeared. The medicine sovereign capital within the divine kingdom of spiritual medicine. Zhou Zhou smelled an obvious medicinal scent the moment he appeared. He looked over and saw that on the clean street he was on. The merchants on both sides of the street were mostly selling medicinal herbs, or industries related to medicinal herbs. Only a small number of them were in other businesses. There were also many customers buying these medicinal herbs. Zhou Zhou could tell from they's habits that most of the people selling herbs were locals of the medicine sovereign capital, as, for those who were buying herbs, most of them were from the people of foreign races. A small number of them were subjects from the other states of the divine kingdom. Zhou Zhou could tell from their habits that most of the people selling herbs were locals of the medicine sovereign capital. As for those who were buying herbs, most of them were from the people of foreign races. A small number of them were subjects from the other states of the divine kingdom. The medicine sovereign capital was well governed. Most of the Lord's kingdoms in his memories did not feel as well governed as the spiritual medicine divine kingdom. If he had not seen it with his own eyes, it would have been difficult to imagine that the master of this divine kingdom was actually a little girl. Your medicine. Sovereign capital is well governed, Zhou Zhou praised. Big brother, actually. I don't have time to deal with government affairs most of the time. Instead, I cultivate spirit herbs in the medicinal gardens. However, I've chosen a prime minister. The prime minister will help me resolve most political matters. He will only come and ask me when he finds it difficult to make decisions, but I don't really understand most of it, so I can only consult other teachers in secret and pass it on to the prime minister as my own order. Linga was a little embarrassed. Zhou Zhou laughed out loud. This was somewhat similar to what he had done. On the other hand, the passers-by didn't seem to see Zhou Zhou and Linga. They were still doing their own things. Otherwise, if they were to find out that the Divine Kingdom Lord of the Spiritual Medicine Divine Kingdom and the Blazing Sun Divine Kingdom's Divine Kingdom Lord were currently by their side, they would probably immediately go crazy. No matter who it was, they were all figures that they had admired for a long time, especially Zhou Zhou, the common people's regal, who resounded throughout the myriad worlds after all. Zhou Zhou and Linga arrived at the medicine sovereign capital's shrine after watching for a while. Big brother, what do I do next? Linga asked curiously. It's very simple. Just admit that your spiritual medicine divine kingdom truly belongs to the Blazing Sun Divine Kingdom, Zhou Zhou said. But my divine kingdom of spiritual medicine is originally your subsidiary territory anyway? Linga asked doubtfully. A subsidiary territory is ultimately a subsidiary territory. It has a portion of its own sovereignty. Even our Blazing Sun Divine Kingdom cannot easily offend this portion of sovereignty. If you finish saying this, your Herb Divine Kingdom will completely belong to the Blazing Sun Divine Kingdom. You won't have any sovereignty. It's equivalent to going from a subsidiary territory to the territory of the Blazing Sun Divine Kingdom. It's no different from a state in the Blazing Sun Divine Kingdom, Zhou Zhou explained. I see. Then I admit it. I'm willing to lead our spiritual medicine Divine Kingdom to completely belong to Big Brother and become a part of the Blazing Sun Divine Kingdom. Linger said without hesitation. Zhou Zhou immediately sensed something as soon as she finished speaking. He opened his Divine Kingdom advancement menu and found that conquering a beginner grade master. God-tier Lord territory that is not under the Crimson Overlord, 01, had become conquering a beginner grade master God-tier Lord territory that is not under the Crimson Overlord, 1-1. One of the requirements for upgrading a territory to Grade 1 Supreme God was to go from 10 beginner grade master God-tier country Lord territories to 9 beginner grade master God-tier country Lord territories. Zhu Zhou nodded slightly. Done. Linger is such a good girl. Zhou Zhou closed the interface and said to Linger, That's it? Linger asked in surprise. How complicated do you think it is? Zhou Zhou chuckled. I was thinking too much. Linger smiled. Zhou Zhou nodded with a smile. Then he looked at Linger as if he had discovered something that surprised him. You're already Master God tier advanced grade? He asked in surprise. It's been 4 or 5 days. Linger smiled. Zhou Zhou nodded. At that moment, he was no longer surprised. Linger's Lord talent and cultivation talent were extremely good to begin with. Coupled with the Blazing Sun Divine Kingdom's vast amount of resources and various supports, it was not strange for her to be promoted to Master God tier advanced grade in such a short period of time. He thought about it and handed Linger a world ring. Here are some cultivation resources needed to advance to the Supreme God level, as well as some insights on breaking through to the Supreme God level that I wrote when I had nothing to do. And take it. You're already the master of a beginner-grade Master God tier nation. Even though the strength of a Master God tier is enough, the stronger, the better. Thank you, Big Brother. Linger's eyes lit up, and she immediately took it happily. Since he had been promoted to an advanced-grade Master God tier, he had increasingly felt the difficulty of being promoted to a Supreme God. Originally, he was still worried about this. What should he do next? Now that her big brother had sent her cultivation resources and cultivation insights, Linger instantly felt that the path to advancement in the future should not be difficult. Who was her big brother? That was the #1 irritable big brother in the myriad worlds. His breakthrough insights would definitely be very useful for her breakthrough. Right at that moment, she heard Zhou Zhou say, I just used the power of my will to observe the overall development of your divine kingdom. Your divine kingdom of spiritual medicine is developing well in terms of economic development, especially in terms of medicinal herbs. However, I'm still a little weak in the military area. After Linger heard this, she lowered her head and stammered without saying anything. In fact, among the many divine kingdoms, her divine kingdom of herbs was considered to have developed quite well, even among the high-level divine kingdom lords, and was much different in military terms. However, she could understand why Big Brother said that odd Big Brother was definitely evaluated according to his standards. What level was the Blazing Sun Divine Kingdom at? How could her divine kingdom of spiritual medicine compare to that? Linger felt that even if her spiritual herb divine kingdom developed for another 10,000 years, it would not be able to develop into a military force like her big brother's. That was why she didn't say anything. Zhou Zhou quickly realized that his expectations might be too high. He stroked his chin and didn't say anything else. Instead, he said, Tomorrow I'll send you some class change certificates for the Supreme God Realm Soldier and Supreme Holy Mage God. Use it to change your profession and increase the military strength of your divine kingdom of herbs. You're the second lord in the Supreme Great Cosmos to be promoted to a beginner grade master God-tier lord. Your strength will definitely be watched by those high-level divine kingdom lords. You definitely can't reveal your weakness in front of them. Linger's eyes lit up when she heard that. The class change certificate of the Supreme God Realm Soldier and the Supreme Holy Mage God? Isn't that the strongest soldier type under her big brother? Big brother actually wants to use his class change certificate to increase her military strength? Big brother is so good to me, Linger thought to herself. Linger was still very touched even though this was not the first time he had helped her like this. "How are your parents, by the way?" Zhou Zhou asked with concern. With his current strength, it was naturally easy for him to find Linger's biological parents. It was a pity that when Zhou Zhou found Linger's biological parents, he unearthed that they had already died in the Lord War. Fortunately, there were many people under Zhou Zhou who had the ability to revive, so he easily revived them and reunited them with Linger. Ever since they handed up their status as lords, they have been staying on Cerulean Planet and rarely come to the High Continent, Linger said. Zhou Zhou nodded. Not everyone could adapt to the cruel and bloody environment of a lord's hegemony. Especially, for those who had already died once, they might not be used to the Lord's War. Instead, they might be even more afraid of this environment. Therefore, Zhou Zhou was not very surprised by their withdrawal. "Come home more often when you have time." "Yeah," Linger nodded vigorously. Zhou Zhou and Linger chatted for a while before Zhou Zhou returned to the Reincarnation's sacred palace to continue cultivating. At the same time, Zhou Marshall had already brought Thanatos, Nazario, and 10,000 Master God tier, advanced grade God spirits to the Chaos Sea. After they found the space-time chaotic divine demon, they discovered that they had brought a total of 313 chaotic divine demons. When Zhou Marshall saw this, he secretly nodded. It's a lot more than yesterday. The space-time chaotic divine demon had indeed done their best to complete the mission. Given by their main bodies, he immediately brought the God spirits to them. "Greetings, Your Majesty. Greetings, Lord Supreme God of Death, Lord Abyssal Holy Dragon." When the space-time chaotic divine demons saw Zhou Marshall, they immediately said respectfully. Zhou Marshall bobbed slightly and smiled. "You're doing great." The space-time chaotic divine demons immediately said respectfully, "I'll do anything for His Majesty." Zhou Marshall bobbed and handed the space-time chaotic divine demon a total of 1,252 Master God tier divine artifacts. Then, he destroyed the 313 chaotic divine demons with one palm. After extracting the loots, he obtained a total of 1,288 chaos divine treasures. Then, he gazed at the space-time chaotic divine demon in front of them and flipped his right hand. He saw a Grade 1 Supreme God-level Book of the God Spirit appear in his hand. This is a Book of the God Spirit left behind by a Grade 1 Supreme God. Time and space. It's been hard on you. Here's your reward. Zhou Zhou referred. The space-time chaotic divine demon. Then, he directly handed the Book of the God Spirit to the other party. The eyes of the other chaotic divine demons turned red. That was a Supreme God-level Book of the God Spirit. This treasure could increase the success rate of becoming a Supreme God by at least 40%. How could they not be envious? When Zhou Marshall saw this, he said calmly, "You don't have to be jealous, as long as you work loyally for this Emperor. Every deity can obtain this Supreme God-level Book of the God Spirit, or even better." "Yes, Your Majesty." When the chaotic divine demons heard this, they immediately said with fervor and determination. Zhou Marshall nodded. Subsequently, they went to the time ruins of the Chaos of Death and obtained another 170 units of Chaos Divine treasures. In addition, he originally had 1,432 units of Chaos Divine treasure left. The total number of Chaos Divine treasures in his hands was 2,890 units. Zhou Marshall nodded. That's a good number. Upgrading his territory to the territory of a Grade 1 Supreme. God required a total of 10,000 units of Chaos Divine treasure. I've got nearly 3/10 now. Next it's up to the Chaos Divine treasure mine in the Crimson Great Cosmos and the Chaos Divine treasure in the Ultimate Void Great Cosmos. I wonder how much Chaos Divine treasures are produced in these two places. Zhou Marshall pondered to himself. The Crimson Great Cosmos. Zhou 11 and Zhou 12 had just arrived with 10,000 Master Gods and 20 Supreme Gods. The moment they arrived at the Crimson Great Cosmos, Zhou Shiwu, who was far away in the Succubus God capital, immediately learned that they had arrived at the Crimson Great Cosmos. He had already replaced Zhou Fight and was in charge of playing the role of the succubus godlord. As a result, he temporarily controlled the reality cube. Hence, Zhou 15 activated the reality cube almost immediately when he sensed Zhou 11's arrival. In the blink of an eye, Zhou 11, Zhou 12, and the 10,000 master gods and 20 supreme gods under him instantly transformed into the scarlet god spirits of the succubus divine kingdom. Zhou 11 and Zhou 12 looked at each other. A smile appeared on their faces when they saw each other's flawless disguise. This reality cube is indeed a treasure of willpower. Zhou 11 lamented, I actually couldn't see any flaws. Even the Supreme Will and the Crimson Overlord couldn't see through the disguise, so you and I naturally couldn't either. Zhou 12 shook his head and said, Let's go, don't waste time. The earlier we go to the Chaos Divine Treasure Vein, the more units of Chaos Divine Treasures we can dig out. Looks like you're a workaholic clone of the main body. Zhou 11 was speechless. It's called not wasting time on meaningless things. Zhou 12 shook his head in disagreement. Zhou 11's mouth twitched. He did not retort even though he was speechless. Then, they led their god spirit army and teleported all the way out of the Crimson Great Cosmos. Zhou 15, who was in the succubus god capital, nodded slightly. Zhou 11 and Zhou 12's matters didn't need him to worry about them for the time being. Next, he should be busy with his own matters. He immediately gathered the Scarlet Lords to meet him and prepare to head to the chaotic Scarlet Divine Kingdom to destroy Aus and his Lord's kingdom. Outside the Crimson Great Cosmos, Zhou 11 and Zhou 12 passed through the crystal wall of the Crimson Great Cosmos smoothly and arrived outside. In the vast ultimate void. Great Cosmos, all they could see was a strange and beautiful purple void environment. Zhou 11 and Zhou Xie relied on their willpower to barely see the distant and magnificent other Great Cosmos worlds concealed in the intermediate grade void. Even they could barely see it, which showed how far away they were from each other. This ultimate void may seem beautiful and enchanting, but it also contains a hidden danger. Even for us, just by looking at this ultimate void, we feel a sense of peril that represents fear. It's hard to imagine how much danger Zhou 13 and Zhou 14 will encounter when they enter the ultimate void. Zhou 11 narrowed his eyes and said Zhou 12 and him were in charge of collecting Chaos Divine treasures in the Chaos Divine treasure mine. Zhou 13 and Zhou 14's task was even more difficult. Their mission was to go deep into the ultimate void cosmos and search for the ultimate void crystals and Chaos Divine treasures that might contain them. The danger contained in this was much greater than when they mined Chaos Divine treasures near the Crimson Great Cosmos. It was also much more dangerous. Don't be sentimental. Do our own thing. For now, camouflage yourself, Zhou 12 said. Zhou 11 nodded. Then, they immediately contacted Zhou 15 and asked him to transform them and their subordinates into another unfamiliar scarlet god spirit. They had no intention of hiding their strength by collecting Chaos Divine treasures in the Chaos Divine treasure mine. Therefore, in order not to expose their identities, they could only camouflage themselves as other scarlet god spirits. Even if they encountered other scarlet god spirits in the Chaos Divine treasure mine, these scarlet god spirits would not be able to tell that they were from the succubus divine kingdom. They would only think that they were other scarlet god spirits. The god spirits morphed into unfamiliar scarlet god spirits. They continued to rush in the direction of the Chaos Divine treasure mine after all. As they grasped the ultimate void travel ability, they traveled very quickly. In less than a moment, they saw the Chaos Divine treasure mine. When they saw the Chaos Divine treasure mine, the two of them suddenly widened their eyes as if they had seen something that shocked them. The Chaos Divine treasure mine is truly like this? Unbelievable, Zhou 11 exclaimed. Zhou 12 also acknowledged solemnly, in the ultimate void. Great Cosmos, the corpse of a terrifying general wearing old silver armor and an old silver helmet, was floating there quietly. He held a huge sword that was as big as 100 boundless universes. He seemed to be in existence from the depths of the ultimate void, Great Cosmos. It was unknown when he had spent countless years floating here, and this was not the other party's final destination. It seemed to be floating forever until time stopped flowing. At this moment, the chaotic divine demon aura emitted from the other party's body also revealed his identity. This was the corpse of a chaotic divine demon. Furthermore, it was the corpse of a powerful chaotic divine demon. This could be seen from the extremely terrifying aura emanating from him. He had died for some unknown reason. Now, his corpse had floated to the edge of the crimson Great Cosmos. Zhou 11 and Zhou 12 looked at each other. A strong man of will, Zhou 11 said. Zhou 12 nodded. They felt a similar feeling to the Supreme Will and the Crimson Overlord from each other. Then Zhou 11 and Zhou 12 took a closer look. There were many holes on the surface of the chaotic divine demon's corpse. There were both old and new holes. Zhou 11 and Zhou 12 could even vaguely see some life forms busying themselves in the holes. Among them were living beings from the Crimson Great Cosmos, as well as unfamiliar life forms that Zhou 11 and Zhou 12 could not recognize. Even them, who possessed the bloodlines of countless races, could not recognize their origins. This only proved one thing. These unfamiliar life forms were most likely from other universes. The situation in this chaos divine treasure mine is a little complicated, Zhou 11 said. The body of a willpower expert naturally contains countless treasures. It's not an exaggeration to say that it's complicated, Zhou 12 said. Let's go and have a look. After Zhou 11 finished speaking, he took the lead and shuttled forward. When Zhou 12 saw this, he led his master god tiers and god spirits to the corpse. Soon, they arrived in front of the corpse. Right at that moment, two deities exuding the aura of the quasi-supreme will realm flew out from a hole in the corpse and quickly flew in front of them. "Stop, I'm talking about you guys!" they shouted. Zhou 11 and Zhou 12 glanced at them, but did not slow down or stop. Instead, they asked as they flew, yes? They looked at the two quasi-supreme willpower experts. One of the quasi-supreme willpower realm experts emitted a scarlet aura. He was clearly an expert of the Crimson Great Cosmos. As for the other quasi-supreme willpower realm expert, his divine body was a strange divine body, formed from all kinds of limbs combined together. Zhou 11 and Zhou 12 could not tell his identity and background. If nothing went wrong, he should be an expert from another universe. I told you to stop. When the two quasi-supreme willpower experts saw that Zhou 11 and they did not listen to, Marin stopped. They were instantly enraged. Since when did two mere grade 2 supreme gods become so bold? He actually dared to disobey the words of a quasi-supreme willpower realm expert. Was he courting death? They immediately planned to teach Zhou 11 and Zhou 12 a lesson. This scarlet god spirit at the quasi-supreme will realm was the first to attack. A scarlet sharp claw that carried the shocking power of tearing laws grabbed at Zhou 11 and Zhou 12. With this grab, even a quasi-supreme willpower expert would be seriously injured if they were not careful. Not to mention the two second-order supreme gods. This scarlet powerhouse was very sure that these two second-order supreme gods would definitely die under his tearing power. Then, he saw that Zhou 11 and Zhou 12 were actually fearless and indifferent. Shortly after, Zhou 11 pulled out the divine sword from his waist. The divine sword at his waist was a grade 4 supreme divine artifact called the Heavenly Wu Sword. He had been seized by Zhou Fight from the Ultimate Void Race. After obtaining it, he had kept it in the #1 treasure vault. There were actually quite a few grade 4 supreme divine artifacts like this in the #1 treasure vault. But Zhou 11 did not pick them carefully and took them out to use, because Zhou Zhou and his clones were never strong because of the various divine artifacts he possessed, but because of themselves. Zhou 11 casually swung his sword. This sword contained 10% of the power of the myriad methods. Star Palm. A heaven-reaching swordlight burst forth from the heavenly Wu sword and shot toward the giant scarlet claw. The two soon collided. Then, the scarlet god spirit was dumbfounded to see that the sky-rending claw that he had confidently used was easily cut off by Zhou 11's swordlight and dissipated in the ultimate void. Moreover, after this swordlight cut off the sky-rending claw, it actually continued to slash at the scarlet god spirit. The scarlet god spirit's expression changed. The other universe powerhouse beside him didn't look any better. He reacted extremely quickly and immediately made a move. A domain appeared under his feet and quickly spread in all directions. Soon, it enveloped an area of 100,000 light-years. Within this domain, countless bloody and twisted broken limbs were scattered everywhere in the domain, looking strange and terrifying. It was the domain that he was best at and the most powerful. Many supreme gods were buried in his domain. Even 9 quasi-supreme willpower experts were buried. His domain power was enough to make it difficult for most quasi-supreme willpower realm experts to resist with the support of so many broken limbs. As for supreme gods below quasi-supreme willpower realm, they would melt into the broken limb domain in a second and become a part of their domain power. Interesting, but that's it. Without a qualitative change, one's potential is ultimately limited. In the future, one will not be able to advance to the supreme will realm. Zhou 11 commented leisurely, and then had an idea. Trendoin Throden Trert, Supreme. God law skill? Under the heavens, everything is the king's land, solve, he said softly. There was no spectacular phenomenon of the nomological domain. However, this quasi-supreme willpower practitioner in the alternate universe was horrified to discover that the limb-shattering domain he had released had silently disintegrated and disappeared. In less than a breath's time, it had completely disappeared into the ultimate void. What level is he at? When the experts from the alternate universe saw this scene, their hearts were filled with extreme shock and fear, with a single word, domain solutions. He had only seen such an ability from a very small number of top-notch quasi-supreme willpower realm experts and true supreme willpower realm experts. Could it be that the scarlet god spirit in front of him was a super expert with the strength of a top-notch quasi-supreme will? As for the grade 2 supreme god aura on his body, it was only a disguise. He groaned inwardly, thinking of this. What era is this? Senior, why are you still pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger? And the scene just now was also seen by the scarlet god spirit beside him. He immediately realized that this scarlet god spirit was a top-notch expert that far exceeded him. Even if it wasn't a supreme willpower realm expert, it was definitely not far from that realm. Thinking of this, he immediately knelt down and shouted in fear, looking at the terrifying sword beam that was about to reach him. Senior, spare me! I'm sorry! Swoosh! The sword beam arrived in front of he, only a hair's breadth away from his forehead. Even though the sharp sword aura was contained, it made the scarlet god spirit break out in cold sweat. Its divine spark was so frightened that it was about to escape from its divine body. If you become this emperor's subordinates, this emperor will spare your lives! Zhou 11's calm voice sounded. We are willing to become His Majesty's subordinates. The two quasi-supreme will experts agreed without hesitation. The two god spirits were even a little happy. It was not a loss to acknowledge a top-notch quasi-supreme will realm expert as their master, no matter how they thought about it. Life is more precious, even though freedom is more expensive. At the same time, under the influence of the supreme, unique Lord Talent, the Lord of Peace, the loyalty of these two quasi-supreme willpower subordinates, who had just become Zhou 11's subordinates, immediately reached 90 points. This was already a very difficult loyalty to betray. In another 12 days, their loyalty would exceed 100 points, and they would become Zhou Zhou's fanatic believers. In another 22 days, they would directly evolve from fanatic believers to Holy Spirit tier believers. At that time, Even if they encountered something that could cause their lives to fall and their faith to collapse, it would not change their loyalty to Zhou Zhou. They would remain loyal to Zhou Zhou. How'd it go? Zhou 11 blinked at Zhou 12. The moment I made my move, the blazing sun divine kingdom gained 2 quasi-supreme willpower experts. Direct force deterrence is much faster than the Son of Destiny and incite defection. It hasn't been used many times. The corners of Zhou 12's mouth twitched. It allowed him to pretend. Let's go over there and find out. Perhaps they'd have information that can allow us to obtain more Chaos Divine treasures, Zhou 12 said. Zhou 11 nodded. Then, the two of them led the army and flew towards them.